Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're taking a close look at Anheuser-Busch Inbev. You sent us a whole collection of recent reports, news articles, analyses, and we've boiled it all down for you. Our mission, as always, is to unpack what's going on with this global brewing giant. We want to look at its current standing, recent moves, future prospects, and really cut through the noise.
It's definitely a big one to unpack. I mean, the scale is just immense, right? They are the world's largest beer producer by volume. The brands they own: Budweiser, Michelob Ultra, Stella Artois, household names. And something that really stands out from the materials is that over 98% of their beers actually produced locally.
Locally, that's interesting for such a global company.
Right. It highlights this sort of global yet localized strategy. It lets them tailor things, market by market, handle logistics efficiently. It's core to how they operate.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the positive signs we're seeing there. We don't have specific stock price history in front of us from your files, but there are clear indicators of momentum, like this big investment they've announced, $300 million for U.S. facilities in 2025.
That's a significant signal, isn't it? Shows real confidence in future growth over there. It's part of this initiative they call Brewing Futures.
Brewing futures. Okay.
And it's not just pouring concrete. It's aimed at supporting manufacturing jobs, boosting workforce skills too. And it seems consistent. They've apparently invested nearly $2 billion in the U.S. operations just over the past 5 years.
Wow. Okay. So a sustained commitment there.
Definitely looks like a long-term strategic focus on a key market. And if you connect that investment with their recent financial performance, well, the picture gets clearer. Q1 2025 earnings looked pretty strong. Profit attributable to equity holders. It almost doubled compared to Q1 last year.
Doubled from what to what?
Went from about $1.09 billion up to $2.15 billion. That's a substantial jump in profitability.
That really is. Suggests maybe cost management or something else is working.
Could be a mix. It suggests they're managing costs effectively, maybe pushing higher value products. We saw revenue per hectoliter was up more sharply than overall volume.
Okay. So overall revenue climbed, what, 1.5% in Q1?
That's right. A modest 1.5% increase.
But the revenue per hectoliter, the amount they make per unit of beer, that jumped 3.7%.
Right. So they're getting more value from each barrel, essentially. That points towards maybe stronger pricing power or, like you said, a successful shift towards their premium brands.
Makes sense.
And we also saw their underlying earnings per share, the EPS, that rose by a healthy 7.1% to $0.81 in Q1. Plus, looking at their debt costs, projected net interest costs for pensions and allocations are expected between $190 and $220 million per quarter. And the average coupon on their gross debt is around 4% for the year. Seems like they have a handle on their debt, which is important right now.
Okay, good to know. And it wasn't just the company itself feeling good, right? Didn't Goldman Sachs weigh in?
They did. Goldman Sachs recently upgraded the stock, moved it from neutral up to buy. And they bumped their price target significantly, too, from around $70 up to $88.
That's quite a jump in the target. That kind of nod from a big institution. It often suggests they see real underlying strength.
It definitely adds weight to the positive story. It shows external analysts are also seeing potential for strong performance ahead. And when you look at the company's core strength, a few things really do stand out. That local production capability we mentioned, that's a big plus. Also, their, consistent strategic execution seems to be paying off in these better burnings. And of course, that $300 million U.S. investment really underscores their commitment to growth there.
But it can't all be smooth sailing.
Yeah.
The information you sent also flags some potential risks, some headwinds.
Oh, absolutely. The big one, unsurprisingly, is exposure to inflation. The whole macroeconomic climate. That's hitting everyone, and it could definitely squeeze their margins, increase costs.
Right. That's a key thing to watch.
It really is. I mean, their current outlook is cautiously optimistic. They're forecasting EBITDA growth between 4% and 8% this year.
Okay, so they expect some growth despite the pressures.
They do, but those inflationary pressures are a real challenge they have to navigate. And the reports also mention some regional softness, like in China. So it's not uniform growth everywhere. Shows the complexity of being so global.
Understood. Stepping back a bit, how do they stack up against the competition? They're the biggest by volume, you said.
Correct. Largest global brewer by volume. That scale itself is a massive advantage: infrastructure, distribution, brand recognition. They compete with the other big names, obviously Heineken, Molson Coors, Carlsberg. But each seems to have a slightly different focus based on the analyses. AB InBev looks focused on premium brands and sustainability. Heineken may be more known for innovation in craft beers, digital marketing. Molson Coors is pushing into non-alcoholic options more.
Interesting differences.
Yeah, but AB InBev's sheer scale in these big investments, like the $300 million, give them a pretty powerful edge in many markets.
So looking ahead then, what should we be watching for? Potential catalysts? Maybe. Or further risks?
Well, the continued rollout of that $300 million U.S. investment through the year is definitely a key thing to track. Will it boost efficiency, market share, and of course, upcoming quarterly earnings reports? They'll be crucial to see if this margin expansion, this momentum, can be sustained.
And on the risk side, still mostly inflation.
Primarily, yes, ongoing inflationary pressures impacting their costs or potentially hitting consumer spending on their products. And, you always have to keep an eye out for potential regulatory changes, things affecting alcohol sales, tariffs. Those can always pop up.
Seems like the general feeling in the market, based on the news you sent, is pretty positive right now, though, especially around those U.S. investments.
It does seem that way. Recent news, analyst comments, they lean positive. That U.S. investment narrative, focusing on jobs and local production, probably helps public perception, too. We didn't get deep specifics on social media buzz from the files, but the focus on sustainability and workforce stuff, that likely resonates well.
And the Goldman Sachs upgrade definitely wouldn't hurt investor sentiment either.
Not at all. That's a strong signal for many investors.
So if we try to tie all this together, what's the takeaway for someone looking at Anheuser-Busch InBev right now based on all this information?
Well, pulling together everything from the reports you provided, the overall feeling leans towards, let's say, a hold-to-buy recommendation. You've got this strong recent profit growth that near doubling year over year is significant. You've got strategic reinvestment happening in key markets. You have a reasonably optimistic outlook for operational profits, that EBITDA growth.
Okay, so leaning positive.
Leaning positive, yes. Suggests resilience and potential for more gains. But, and it's an important but, those inflation risks are real and need careful watching. Monitoring the upcoming quarterly results will be absolutely key to see if this positive trend holds up.
Right. So what does this all mean for you, the informed investor? Anheuser-Busch InBev seems like a dominant player, making some big bets on future growth, and the recent numbers look good. But like any investment, you absolutely need to stay aware of the potential headwinds, the risks like inflation, and keep tracking how they perform. This analysis, built from the sources you sent us, should give you a much clearer picture of what's going on around Anheuser-Busch InBev. As always, we encourage you to do your own further research, see how this fits or doesn't fit into your personal investment strategy. And hey, if you found this discussion insightful, please do subscribe, like the video, maybe leave us a comment. We genuinely appreciate hearing from you.